Finally, the other disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. The tomb wasn't empty. Jesus' burial cloths were in it, and they were not in it. The Greek verb is kind of funny. It's the word to lay flat. They were laying flat. Now, bear with me, because I might be I'm always a little disjointed. Today I might be a lot disjointed, but there's a lot I want to share with you this morning, and a lot I want to challenge you about this morning. Our faith, the reason that you and I are here, is something supernatural. It's about someone rising from the dead. Think about that. It's about someone rising from the dead. The reason that you and I are in this building this morning and you're sitting on a hard bench listening to a long sermon is because someone rose from the dead. All the things I face, all the petty irritations, all the difficulties, the problems in my family, the health problems I may be facing, the financial difficulties I incur, all of those pale in significance to the fact that once a man rose from the dead, that a cold, dead body became alive again. It's the stuff of which monster movies are made. I'm sure most of you have heard about the Shroud of Turin, right? And I'm sure you think, oh yeah, the Shroud of Turin. In the late 80s, they proved that was a fake. No, they didn't. 2005, a scientist named Ray Rogers, look it up on the web, Ray Rogers, the Shroud. He realized that the part of the shroud that they had analyzed with carbon-14, which I don't have time to go into this morning, was a patch that had been put on the shroud in the Middle Ages. So the shroud is back. There is a cloth which is claimed to be, for centuries, possibly since the very first days of the church, a cloth that was burned in some strange way, and on it were left the marks, the very figure of Jesus. Now, the day of the Lord, first Sunday, we're going to be doing that again March 2nd. We have the prayer meeting at 1:30, and Carolyn Green is going to lead worship again. That's after the noon Mass. But then after that, at 2:30, I'm going to give a presentation on the shroud. And I welcome all of you. If you want to come to the prayer meeting, fine. If not, fine. But I'm going to do a presentation on the shroud. And then we are going to have the traditional Latin Mass at 5 o'clock. That's March 2nd, Sunday. So I invite you to that because I don't have a lot of time to go into it this morning. But what I want to say is this. There is a cloth, which may or may not be, but it is an amazing cloth. And in the gospel, when the disciples saw the burial cloths of Jesus, before they had seen him, they believed that he'd risen from the dead. Now, I was at a meeting not long ago with Bishop Kane and with the priests of the area, and we were given a lot of statistics. There are, in the Archdiocese of Chicago, about 2,500,000 people who claim to be Catholic. In 2006, 490,000 plus went to church on Sunday. In 2007, 470,000 plus went to church. In that year alone, the percentage of people dropped by almost 4%. what I want to say is that we need to rethink what it means to be a Catholic in the 21st century, in this archdiocese, in this parish. I remember hearing a statistic that only 27% of Catholics believe in the real presence. The idea that Jesus is somehow physically present in the form of bread and wine on the altar. Only 27% believe that. And I mentioned that to someone and they said, that's not true. 100% of Catholics believe it. I said, what? 100% of Catholics believe it. In other words, if you don't believe it, you are not a Catholic. And I would say the same applies to that other statistic. All Catholics go to church regularly. It's just that we are living under the illusion that there are 2.5 million Catholics in Chicago when there are in fact 470,000 Catholics. And we lead our church life as if there were 2.5 million Catholics. People come to me for wedding, and I've fetched about this before. It makes me crazy. I will never forget, I had a wedding, and one young man who's standing over there, for some reason, I went up to this guy and gave him Holy Communion. He was a Catholic, looked Catholic, if one can look Catholic, seemed to know what he was doing. He took the host and he put it in his pocket. And when I saw that, I went back to him and I said, you know, I have 2 graduate degrees. After taxes, I probably make $20,000. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I rarely get a day off. And you know why I do all that? Because I really believe that's Jesus. Now, if you don't want it, give it back to me. And he looked at me and said, I believe it too, Father. And he took the host and ate it. He didn't believe it. People want the grand and glorious services of Catholicism because they're Catholic. And I would venture, no, they are not Catholic. They do not believe in the supernatural reality on which this church is founded. If they believed it, they would be here. They do not believe that Jesus, the Son of God, the Son of Mary, rose from the dead, or they would be here this morning. I don't go to church. It's kind of boring. It's boring that someone should rise from the dead and that somehow he should remain physically in this church, that the very God who made the universe should be present in some way in this place, risen from the dead. That's boring to you? But you see, we have spent the past 40 years